Hello and welcome to Success Tips Global. It's April the 1st, 2023, and I have the distinct pleasure of speaking with the CEO of Washington, D.C.-based Bluestreams. Mr. John Abbey, welcome to Success Tips Global.
Well, welcome, Mr. Everett.
Okay, so my first question is, when did you start your business, Bluestreams?
So the Bluestreams Group officially started February 5th, 2014.
Okay, and who does the company serve?
Primarily, 85% we serve the U.S. federal government,
Okay,
and 15% for the commercial marketplace.
okay. And what got you to start this company?
Very interesting. So my background came from the commercial side. I spent 12 years in the Silicon Valley, which is in California. Throughout that time, I was working for big companies like Siemens, like Novell, like SAP. And I've always have interested in public service.
Okay.
In fact, it started from my home country when I was in Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, I got myself in engineering and then transitioned from engineering to do MBA.
Okay.
And I knew that, 2008, there was economic crash in the United States, and most major companies were looking for sources of revenue, and the government was the place to tap into.
Okay.
And so when I went to business school, I had this dream of one day starting a business on my own.
Okay.
And so moving from business, from company to company, I thought this is now, the time is now.
Okay.
And so I moved myself from California and came straight to Washington, D.C. Yeah, so that was when I realized this is my calling.
Okay.
And rather than to go and work for the government direct, I thought I could be adjacent,
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, so that is how the company
Well,
started.
I imagine there were some initial challenges.
There were some challenges, the federal government, if I can paint a picture for you, is very huge. It has a lot of nuances, bureaucracies. Most people will tell you those small companies who try to come in, sometimes it can take more than between 2 to 10 years to get your first contract. So what do you do during that time? Right. Yes. Yes. So I think people always come to me and ask me, how did you do it? It takes tenacity.
Yeah.
It takes patience. I think if you come in with intention, you want to make money very quick.
Okay.
Then I don't think it is a place for you. I think you have to come with a mission. You have to come with a goal. You definitely going to pay the price because there's some struggle that comes into it. You have to come in, build relationship. You have to know exactly what is it that you bring to the government. And as people come and they just want to be entrepreneurial, I'm like, okay, are you just looking for some quick wins, or you really want to come in and do a real job?
Okay.
The latter, if it is your mission, then I think, I'm not going to say don't.
Okay.
But it is something that is, you have to bring commitment, you have to bring caring, because not so many, it's just like people always say, when you have 10 people start a company for the first time,
right,
only one probably will make it.
Okay.
The government probably only half will make it. Yeah, so keep that in mind. Yeah.
Okay, so then what distinguishes you from your competitors? Is it the technology itself, or is it the way you do things?
I think the way I did things, because even when I was growing up, even in Ghana, which was my birth country. There was a time when US and Ghana had a tough relationship. And I live in a small town. Well, not in the US, it's a small town, but in Ghana, it's a city called Tema.
Right.
And nobody thought I could do this, but I'm someone who do relationship from the grassroots, from the underground. And I was able to put together senior citizens, and we started an organization called US Ghana Friendship Association.
Okay.
And that really became one of the bedrocks for where Ghana US are, where Ghana US relationship is at today.
Right.
So when I came to US, I had this, knack for the people side when it comes to building relationship. I came in when Reagan was in government.
Okay.
And so I studied the American politics. And as an engineer, I got myself involved in a lot of civil, organizations.
Okay.
And so first I wanted to transfer some of this engineering and knowledge that I have acquired in the United States to my own mother country, Ghana.
Right.
And that was the year between 2008, 2012.
Okay.
But then I realized that, the roadblocks were so many. And so, for me, you asked the question, what distinguishes me? When I'm delivering service to the government, I think of public value.
Okay.
Right. There are three core pillars that I, leverage or stand on to execute whatever we do. One is core value. The second is, are we bringing worth to what is it that we're trying to deliver? Obviously, as a Ghanaian American, dignity is always very, very important. Okay. And so you have to show confidence with attitude, the way I always frame it. So I think, with engineering background, MBA from a top business school in the United States, relationship also counts. Okay. So when I'm in DC, people find out, where were you before? Where did you go to school? The moment I said Northwestern Kellogg, like, wow, what I mean? So you have to leverage that. And then you also have to be very, very patient. I believe that there are a lot of things I cannot control, like outcome of events, all right? But I can control things within my domain. Right. In terms of self-management, in terms of, forward-looking and outward-looking, and just common sense working hard. Okay. Yeah. So I think those are some of the natural elements that I would say may have contributed to where we are. Okay. I will not say that we have the problem completely nailed down, because we continue to generate new hypotheses. We have to test those hypotheses. We have to examine the outcome. We have to, iterate, and we always put ourselves in place for new opportunities. Yeah, so it is a constant evolution.
Okay, so I have a good sense of how you deal with your clients, but what about the environment within your own organization? What kind of environment do you try to create?
It is a very good question. the concept of environment is something we think about, because today you look at the global market, there are a lot of noise. There are global instability. You have uncertainty that, we have digital, transformation, which means the old paradigm is no longer something you can be hanging your coat on forever, all right? So we always say that to succeed in this environment, we need people who can manage situations under ambiguous condition, for example. We need people with critical thinking, creativity, agility. And so when we even interview people, we don't focus, so we go behind what the person is saying. So it is important for us to see what you're saying, what you are doing, and what you are making align. Right. So I always tell my team, I'm not too big a person who is more into force. I'm more about people showing their will to go the extra mile. All right. So the human ingredient is very important. So people approach is where we come from. Right. The technology is just an enablement. Right. So I think we are not standing still. I think in the past, the type of education we've had have made us more static, see things, so now those who are going to win are those who are comfortable with intangibles. Yeah, so at least that is where the gravity is shifting. So it's adaptation and resiliency. Those two words are the North Star.
I'm always curious about how a person's childhood connects to their later lives. And so if I can take you back to Ghana, what are some of your childhood memories?
Wow. Wow. This is something that I always go back, because there's a saying, there are three things in life. You have to know where you are coming from, where you are, and where you are going. Right. And so, I've never said this before, but, when I was growing up, the truth was my parents were divorced. And so the first time I understood the world, I was with my dad, my father. And I came to Accra. But anyway, let me sort of cut so many things out. But I was the type of a kid who was always curious, asking questions that in my culture you were not asked to. Like, for example, I will ask, who was God? If God was God, who is his father? All those. And this was like when I was 3, 4, 5 years old, right? And people will, and I think if you talk to most people, they will say that they also had the same experience, all right? Trying to, that sense of curiosity. And I remember when I was 5 years old, I was with my grandmom. And in Ghana, we have what's something called Lotto that plays every weekend. And I was with my grandmom Thursday, 4:30 in the evening. The Lotto man came at the kitchen. I told my grandmom, just put a stake in it, 65.50.
You still remember?
Yeah. Those days, you have to pay what you call, like in the US, nickel. All right. Like, so Ghana we call 5 pesos. My grandmother didn't ask me the question, and she did it.
Wow.
So Saturday evening, we were sitting by the radio, and the numbers were called. The first number was 65.
Wow.
The last number was 50.
Wow.
But the trick was, I didn't, say next week I'm going to do the same thing again.
Okay.
So the next step, and this was, I was in primary school. I wanted to understand why this happened. So now the child who's always asking about God, and so now I wanted to know. And my grandmother got 6 CDs, which is equivalent to like $6, all right?
Okay.
And I never went and asked, what is my share? I wanted to know why. So there was a newspaper called which publishes all the historical data.
Okay.
So I wanted to look through the pattern, the trend, and come up with my own frame.
Okay.
Right. And I was able to discover the formula.
Wow.
If you can put it in that way. Yeah. So this was so people at older age were coming to me, and I won again. All right. But the most interesting thing, I live with my dad, and I had a stepbrother who one day he didn't go to school. When we came, he had stolen my dad's money and ran away to the capital.
Okay.
And there was no money. So I literally told my dad, whatever you have, just give me 20 pesos.
Okay.
And so I went back to what I knew, which was the lotto. And I played.
Wow.
And the Saturday we won.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. So I saw that there was some sense of gift, right? And also I got myself deep into the church service.
Okay.
And so I remember reading a lot about the Old Testament, asking questions. It's almost like having a conversation with God. And this was all before I turned to 10.
Okay. Wow.
Right. So if you have lived in Ghana, children are not supposed to grow up that fast.
Right.
In terms of knowledge seeking and all that. And I was very, very good. I was academically very good.
Right.
But I didn't let that go into my head.
Right.
All right. Yeah, I was, I just love learning.
Yeah.
And so I when the time came for me to go to secondary school at the time, I was so good that my teachers even asked me to write for there's a selection, there's a common entrance,
right,
which is a preparation that takes us to from high school, from elementary school to secondary school.
Okay.
And my time, I think if you reach from 4,
right,
those days in Ghana, you have you can register for the technical schools.
Okay.
And I think from Form 1 you don't, all right. But
Okay.
I was asked to, Form 2, I was asked to add a technical school to it.
Wow.
And I didn't even know which schools to select, all right. I didn't know there were some Ghana Ivy schools where they call Adisa, Del Infante, Achimota, and all that. I didn't even know. So for me, my first choice was on that secondary school.
Okay.
I was more about St. Paul's Kukrentumi Technical. And in fact, I did this in the remote village in Ashanti region.
Okay.
And we went to the farm where we went, the headmaster and the teacher. And I was the first person brought to that area to actually pass the common entrance.
Wow.
So the headmaster came to look. So there's a lot of stories, you know what I mean? And once I got into Dana Secondary School is a school that was built with O level, A level together.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. and it's in the Eastern region. And in fact, it was supposed to be one of the top Eastern region schools, because the thing about Eastern region is you don't give them a lot of credit, but they've got some very good institutions like St. Peter's, and all those other schools. But only the schools that you hear are the ones in the big cities, like Accra schools, Cape Coast schools. Yeah. So then I began to see the world a little bit broader. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to Achimota.
Okay.
All right. So then Odan went on strike.
Oh.
On my time. They had the worst strike. Right. But about myself, I'm someone who pushes himself to the edge. I'm always going. And I came from a culture in Ghana where children are supposed to work within the boundary.
Right.
The more you push yourself, they label you as bad boy, this, that. And so that was what in my school at Odan people thought of me.
Oh.
But I am someone who I never smoke, I never drink. So when the strike started, I was able to get 2 of my other classmates to join me.
Okay.
And we went to take an escape.
Okay.
In the house of the school art master.
Okay.
So we were there when we saw they went to the headmaster's house. They set the house in fire.
Wow.
They were doing all kinds of stuff. Oh, it was the worst strike ever in the Ghanaian history, at least at the time. Think about someone, the year, the school, the people before us.
Right.
They had almost, I think, 9 distinctions in the Ghanaian terms.
Yeah.
And we wanted to do better than that.
Right.
All right.
And
so
then the strike.
And then the strike. And the strike happened in November. And so the next day, you wouldn't believe it, the regional education ministers came to the school. Because now we have daytime. You can see people's faces, blood all over the walls. And I never forget this. I never forget this in my life. I never forget this. Never forget it. And they came assemble hall, and this is very, very emotional. But so everybody thought I would be one of the people to be expelled or whatever, right? So the regional director of education, they all came. They said everybody should pack and go home as soon as, but the following people should stay. Okay. So they called all the name whose name was last. John Abbey. And the whole assembly hall was like, we just told you. We just told you. So it was, but in the end, it came out. I was not, I was exonerated. Right. I was never, and so that really painted a bad picture. So I ended up coming to take my O-level at Tema Secondary School. Yes. From there, then I went to Atisado. Today, when people ask me what are some of the things that are holding Ghana back, and it's because we misdiagnose problems. Okay. People just here I'm sitting down, and I am so blessed with the accomplishment that God is giving me. And people are so myopic, small thinking. It's like, oh, Rabbi. And it's like the structural elements that make a person a person. Because when I came to US, in college, there were a lot of people who came from Ghana who followed me. They were coming from some of the Ivy schools like Achimota with 3 A's and a B
Wow.
for Presec,
Yeah.
which is, all this. And in my second year, I was asked to be a teaching assistant
Wow.
in college. And so I
Wow.
was teaching all these guys. And I was selected to go and do research in a major university, Purdue University.
Yes, yes.
And I work under some great professors. And I got I'm involved in semiconductors,
Okay.
electronics. That was in the early age of 1980s. All right.
Okay.
So I trace all this back is as a child who managed around the boundaries.
Okay.
Most people would have fallen to the other side.
Yeah.
All right.
Pushing, but in the right direction. Yeah.
Right direction. Even when I said something before about Ghana-US friendship in the 80, 81, 82, and people were in Ghana, the political environment was not safe. And people were like, are you not afraid you'll be kidnapped? But then guess what? I was having relationship one-on-one with the US ambassador.
Wow.
Before I was even 20.
Yeah.
I was managing meetings with the what they call the PNDC at the custom, at the, the government. I was dealing with people like PV Obey, at my age. And it was like a flow. It was a flow. And it never changed who I was at the time or who I am today. And you can imagine people flooding my house, wanting favors like, can you get me a visa? Can you get me this? Can you get me that? And for me, I felt something when the call, you will do the right thing.
Okay.
And so those are some of the remnants or the things about the past or great moments that are shaping me today, what I'm doing. All right.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about your experience at Purdue. I know Purdue is very good at, they are quite famous when it comes to engineering. What was your experience like? Yeah.
Purdue is it's another surprise. When I was in the US, the advice I got from a US cultural affairs officer, if you want to go to school in the US, the first school he mentioned to me was Purdue University, not MIT, not MIT, not Harvard, no. He said Purdue University. How did this guy know I would like, I'm a business science or whatever? The cultural affairs officer, Mr. Shafis. Yeah. And I applied to Purdue, and Purdue returned saying to me, they don't give scholarship to international students. They didn't even send me brochure.
Okay. So how did you make it?
So how did I make it? So I got into a college that I did not even apply in the US.
Okay.
Based on my SAT score,
okay,
they accepted me and gave me a full scholarship in Texas.
Okay.
So it was a small program where they brought people of color. Here we call them African Americans.
Yes.
And they brought some of the best Africans and Caribbeans and integrated them to create competition. The mission was to drive us to go beyond first degree to get all the way to PhD. Okay. Right. So that was what I meant. They were bringing in people from Ghana, from Achimota, Presec, Fantapim, Whistle Girls, with 3 A's.
The best of the best, yeah.
Yeah. So it was my second year when what Purdue had a summer program for minorities. Okay. So they came to our campus and I was selected. I see. And that was like day and night. Okay. The campus was so, that was where Neil Armstrong went. Oh. It was like heaven. All right. wanting to travel from Ghana to US
Right.
and then coming to US, all right?
Big gap.
So now from my college to Purdue,
Mm.
it is the best. So when I was in graduate school, my classmates were some of the best minds on the planet. They came from National University of Taiwan, National University of Singapore, University of Tokyo, MIT, and I was the only black,
Wow.
black in my program, electronics, only black.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember I had to take a class called solid state physics.
Okay.
My professor gives you the subjects you have to take. And so this was in the physics department. And I was the only black student in the class.
Wow.
And, we have classes on Friday. But before the classes, we always have to turn in the homework, which was due on Thursday. So my approach was like this. If you know what I mean, if you know something about solid state physics, it's 99% abstract.
Okay.
Right.
Sounds difficult.
Very, very difficult. Electrical engineering is a very difficult subject. Most people don't even want to get into that space.
Right.
So the way I will approach my homework, I will take the first step. If I have some difficulty, I'll give myself a space and time, move around, come back, look at it second time.
Okay.
And then third time, I don't do anything consciously 3 times.
Okay.
So third time, there was office visit with our professors.
Okay.
And I would take advantage of that. And my Sloan professor, he was white.
Okay.
I will go, rather than to let him do everything for me, I will take the initiative. I will take the chalk and I will go to the blackboard and explain to him what I was doing.
Okay.
And so in the process, you say, oh, you missed this because you misunderstood the direction. Like I said, everything, most of the things are abstract.
Yes.
So by the time I'm almost, it's like, instead of spending 30 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever, everything is solved. Then we'll sit down, we'll have conversation.
Okay.
Fast forward. So I remember when we have to, when we finish our exam, sometimes you want to know your grade before you go home.
Yeah.
And so I'll call professor, and I said, is it possible I will know my grade before? And the professor said, well, if I were you, I wouldn't even worry because you're one of my best students in the class.
Okay.
And obviously I got an A.
Yeah.
And this is what he told me what surprised me. He said 1/3 of the class got an A. There were like 6 Bs, 3 Cs, maybe 3 Ds, and 4 E's, and maybe 5 F's. And I shook my head. I'm like, the only black person in the class got an A among the 13, but there's somebody who got an F, E, D, B. So, and somebody who is not of my color. Right? Got a C, probably worried about me, saying that if I got a C, what is that black guy gonna get? Right. Anyway, just to paint a picture to give you an idea how competitive it was. All right. Excuse me. How competitive it was. And I was able to, most black people that I saw were coming to the program, couldn't finish. Could not finish. And so they wanted me to stay to get a PhD. And I was lucky working for Motorola.
Okay.
So when I went into the R&D, research and development at Motorola, I was the only person with master's degree.
Wow.
And everybody had a PhD from MIT, from Purdue, from Stanford, UC Berkeley. But that was at the time when the world was shifting from the Cold War.
Okay.
So a lot of research money was coming from the federal government.
Okay.
And so companies were shifting from government to commercial. And so
Okay.
all these PhDs were asked to now get into making products.
Okay.
They were not very happy about it. And so that was when I said, okay, no, I'm not going to get a doctorate.
Okay.
I either have to go into law school
Mm-hmm.
or go to business. But I also knew that my education was not going to end at master's.
Okay. Okay. Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So Purdue, just to summarize, it is it's I think today is like number 4 in engineering.
Yeah.
Graduate. Yeah, if you the US West report.
Yeah.
And when I went there, it was like number 3. Number 3. Yeah, it
Wow.
was MIT,
Mm.
Stanford, Purdue. Then you have Illinois and all those Georgia Tech and that.
Yeah, I read a lot of good things about Purdue.
Yeah, and it has a lot of external, international reach.
Yeah.
So as a Black person, you have to really love it, not only with your mind, but your soul and your heart. It is very, very challenging. You know, sometimes you may lie to your soul, yourself, that, oh my God, I can't make it. I've seen so many people, very bright people who just broken down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, they just, and I think it is all because of what I said before, your foundation, your sense of curiosity, wanting to know. All right. I'm not saying things are everything is glory and all that. All right. There were challenges. Right. I remember my first semester when I came, I'm very slim. And my sister was like, don't they have food? You know what I mean?
What's happening there?
Yeah, what is happening there? You know what I mean? And I'm like, this is not going to break me.
Wow.
So I think for me, it's like the trick and technique, if I can share, is you have to have the inner spirit to recognize when something is going wrong.
Okay.
So you can intervene very quickly. Or you can prevent something, what I call high consequences, low probability events. All right. But these things, I don't think they can teach. It is built in the individual.
Okay.
Yeah. But I wouldn't say that it was an easy road.
What about Kellogg?
Oh my God! Now you want to go? Yeah. So Kellogg is the best education I've ever had.
Wow.
In my life up to date.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is what happened. When I decided to go to business school, it took me a year and a half to do research.
Okay.
I came from science background in terms of environment, engineering background, and I wanted nothing to do with engineering anymore. So I wanted somewhere, something more liberal arts, something that, so 2 schools that stayed in my mind, Harvard Business School and Kellogg. I didn't even think about the Stanford, the Wharton. I knew somebody who knew somebody at Wharton that wanted me to go to Wharton at Pennsylvania. Okay. And I'm like, no, I'm not interested. I'm not interested. I am like, it's almost like God was pushing me.
Wow.
So I was like, I even had a former US ambassador to write recommendations for me. Wow. To those schools, to both Kellogg and Harvard, because it's so competitive that no matter, it's not just the grade that can get you. All right. This is a place for children with big means.
Yeah.
All right. If you know what I'm talking about. And I had to So I remember when my acceptance, my award letter came that you've been accepted to Kellogg and Harvard, and I went to pick the admission envelope.
Yes.
And the lady at the apartment looked at me, a white lady, said, "Are you going to Harvard?" And I can see the glow in the eye.
Yeah,
You know what I
wow.
mean?
Yeah.
And I went to both campuses and I thought to myself, there's this side of the world that is hidden from our mind.
Mm, mm, mm.
Seeing Black people, professional, who are role models, that in the offices that we're used to, you don't see that many.
Wow.
And I'm like, this is what I want.
Yes, yes, yes.
This is where I want to be. And if you've come to Chicago, there is Lake Michigan, which is almost like the size of a sea.
Wow.
So when I saw that, I'm like, and the Kellogg is there just by the lake.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah. Yes. I'm like, this is it. This is it. This is it. My classmates came from all over, from all the Ivy Leagues, Princeton, top in their class, Harvard, Yale, and all that. And I have not come to know some of the brightest people some of PhDs, doctors, medical doctors.
Okay. Coming to business school. Yeah.
Coming to business school is a professional program, right? It's not like your direct transition from bachelor's to master's. No. These are people. There's a lady who went to Brown University, medical doctor, 1977.
Okay.
Not coming to do an MBA, 1997.
Okay, what about the style of teaching? Because I know how they use the case studies. What about Kellogg? Yeah.
Kellogg is not, Harvard is where is very heavy when it comes to cases. Kellogg is known for teamwork.
Okay.
Right. Because what is going to business school all about? You come in to the real world to deal with real world pain and challenges.
Okay.
So you have to be able to bring diversity of mind, diversity of opinion, and all that. So mostly now, every school is about team.
Yeah.
Right. So I would say maybe 30% or 40% of our course load was cases.
Okay.
Kellogg was the school that started team. It was also started the learning by experiencing.
Okay.
Right. It's like, it's not just teaching, but practicing what you are learning. All right. And we have so many programs. One was to go to countries around the world, and I had the fortune to take some of my classmates to Ghana. And Ivory Coast, yeah.
Okay.
And Ivory Coast, yeah. We're 18 of us, yeah. For 2 weeks, met with, local entrepreneurs, businesses, all kinds. It was all interest driven. That took us. So so there is learning by experience or practicing, which probably 10, 15. And then the teaching, right? Actual classroom teaching. Some which was very rigor. And then you have the cases where you go through the mundane, So and it's a very fast pace. Kellogg is a quarter system. It's not a term system, right? So the element of challenge is that you are in a class of some of the best, brilliant. I can tell how people are very brilliant. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
wow, this, this is natural
Right.
born brilliant.
Right.
All right. And it's no surprise some of my classmates are like at the helm of, executive senior vice president at
Right.
Amazon,
Mm.
Apple, and
Yeah.
yeah. And in fact, you see some of them on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the world that
Mm.
I came from. I remember 2 years at the end,
Mm-hmm.
some some people were crying, they didn't want to go.
Oh,
And
wow.
they were like, yeah, I've never seen anything like
Wow.
that. Yeah, I've never seen anything. I
Great
always said,
experience. Yeah.
yeah, great. The best 2 years experience in my
Yeah.
life when
Wow.
it comes to education. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you mentioned some of the companies you worked for before going out on your own. What did you learn from some of these companies?
Oh, that is something I wish I can share with my fellow countrymen in Africa.
Yes.
The way they structure the education systems. Because my first job was with IBM.
Okay.
First job coming out of 4 years in college was IBM.
Okay.
Where you have to transition from, even the college system did not help you to be practical.
Okay.
Now you are making products that are going to be used in making like cars that you drive on the road.
Okay.
Like the airplane that you fly. So quality is obvious, number one. All right. And you are working with equipment that even great United States of America universities may not have.
Yeah.
And so you have to be quick to learn. And, I learned that you have to ask, let me give you a simple example. When I joined IBM, we were two blacks in the whole world.
Okay.
Yeah. And a white guy came to me after 2 weeks because I'm the type who, in a new environment, I don't just push myself onto people. So he came to me and said, my name is so and so. This is my office. If you have any question, just come over and talk to me. And, because I think people will sense when you are alone, right? So it was just me and my boss and all that. And then they invited me out for lunch and they realized that I was so funny. And the experience multiplied. Now I was invited to all white party.
Okay.
IBM even told me, you are the first person we've actually sponsored to go and present a research he or she did in college before he came or she came. Yeah, so I did a research with a professor in my college and he was going to present.
Okay.
And so IBM actually paid. And, I wasn't afraid to go and ask.
Yeah.
When I asked, they gave it to me. Yeah, they said, go bring us the bill. We'll pay for your hotel and airline and everything. Right. And so this is something that even white people don't ask. And here you are you are black, you are from Africa. And, and so to come to the base of your question, you learn to be practical. You learn to, you have to bring some degree of humility because there were people before you.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm talking about IBM, right?
Yeah.
So there were people in the company. So even if you think you know so much, there are somebody who know more than you do.
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah. So I think it is, for me, number one, coming from Ghana to US, first time working in a real company to make things.
Okay.
you can be, your brain, your response brain can sometimes force you to freeze or fight or
Okay.
flight.
Yes, yes.
All right. And that can handicap you. And I'm sure if you spend some time in Canada, then you probably, because I've seen so many Africans who don't make it in America.
Yeah.
And sometimes not because they are not very good, they have the potential.
Yeah.
It's just the environment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just the environment. All right. Because sometimes, I remember people come to me and said, "You are different."
Right.
Because for a Black person, I think at Siemens, to be a manager over whites,
Yes.
some of them who are like doctors, all right? It's not something super. You are different.
Yeah.
Do you have people in high places in Ghana? And I'm like, you don't want to know my growing up in Ghana. Ghana. Because they think this is the place for the rich and famous. This is the place for this. And how is it you? And then sometimes, and this is not to make me feel good or look good, but it's just pure data that I feel like I need to share. I've had people call me sometimes, are you the Christ? Are you the this? Are you the this? Because the three things that give me the North Campus, the North Star for me, like I said, core value, your worth, and your dignity. All right. Yes, I've seen people, there was at Motorola, I was just coming with master's degree, and there were Africans who were ahead of me. Some of them went to I remember a Nigerian PhD went to Caltech. But then he felt like everything was against him.
Okay, yeah.
All right. And they will all come to me if they have an issue. It's like, go and navigate this on my behalf and all that. And I felt like it was a promise and potential that God gave me. Now, I can abuse it.
Yeah.
Right? I can abuse it. So for me, what that tells me is you are here for a reason. You have to be hungry and thirsty for doing the right thing. And don't be afraid.
Okay.
All right. And that is what exactly is driving my company in the government. In doing a lot of, but I always tell people there is integration of independent and interdependent.
Okay.
There are things that I can do alone, and there are things that I need other people to do with me.
Okay.
And I don't have to lose sight of those two. So
let's talk about marketing. I think maybe you've touched on some of these elements before, but what have you learned about marketing in the real world? Yeah.
In the real world, marketing is about people.
Okay.
It's about people. Yes, we say that, but in reality, in the real spiritual experience, you have to care.
Okay.
A lot of people talk, they sound good in their sales pitch about product, and they know nothing about the product.
Not good. Yeah.
They have actually not experienced the product. And for me, as an engineer coming into marketing professional, it is okay to know the basic 4 P's.
Okay.
Product, placement, promotion, all those things. Customer experience is real. You have to ask yourself, why is somebody spending money?
Okay.
And how are they spending the money? And so I have a simple, I've been working with people who show two faces to the customer.
Okay. Mm, 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 mm.
When I'm with you, you always have to show one face.
Okay. Mm,
I will pull you aside,
mm, mm, mm.
and I'm going to let you know you can't be with customer and make the customer feel like it's all about them.
Okay.
And then behind the customer, you talk so bad about the customer.
Oh.
They don't know anything. They are stupid.
Mm,
No,
mm,
you don't do that.
mm, mm.
If something that you think is wrong in front of the customer, you let them know.
Mm,
This is my simple proposition.
mm,
When I come to a customer,
mm.
you do this for me, I do this for you.
Okay.
You save me time,
Mm-hmm.
I save you money.
Okay. Yeah. People can understand that. Yeah.
People can understand that.
Yeah.
It's a simple language.
Mm, mm.
So when I come to you, I want to know you have a problem, like I told you about the physics.
Yes. Yeah.
What have you been doing about it? What have you done?
Mm, mm,
And so I can go into what you have done.
mm.
And then, that is how I'm going to save you time.
Okay.
That is how I save my professor's time.
Yeah.
All right. So we don't go back and boil the ocean.
Mm. Right.
Right.
Mm,
So we have to start a conversation about business issues,
okay.
mission issues.
Mm,
That is what I mean, the diagnosis.
mm, mm,
Before even think. So when I bring to marketing, trying to understand what is going on,
mm,
it's about what is your concern?
mm,
What are the issues?
mm.
All right. Pricing is the last thing we talk about.
Okay. Yeah.
Why? Because I want to give the customer the right to decide
Okay.
who he or she want to bring to the project.
Mm, mm,
If I'm the one that after all the conversation, they think, we should be given the opportunity to address the issues, address the problem, then you are going to work with us hand in glove.
Right.
So that is real problem solving.
Great. Okay, so let's talk about travel a little bit. I suppose you've been to many wonderful places. What are some good memories?
Oh, one that I would say Asia Pacific.
Okay.
Because before I went to China, my memories were like the Chinese movies we see. So and I've been to China.
Right.
So when I landed in China, I was looking for those buildings.
Yeah.
And Shanghai, and it felt so much like America.
Okay.
What surprised me was what I didn't know actually existed. I was in Hong Kong, and we have to drive from Hong Kong to Shenzhen,
Okay.
which was
Yeah.
very close. So we had to go through the Hong Kong Chinese border.
Okay.
What I saw was eye rolling in terms. I'm like, this place is just as dirty as Kathmandu.
Okay.
Wow, you know what I mean? And this was 2003. We have to go through the mud and this.
Okay.
You see, it's like the Hong Kong border is beautiful.
Yeah.
The Chinese,
Right. You see a difference, yeah.
a difference. And so we drove, and so I saw the highlands, the mountains, and and I saw how some of the Chinese people in a small village, first time seeing a black person.
Okay.
And they would just wave and because only black guy in a company of Chinese people.
Okay.
All right. And I know what was going on in her mind. So I'll way back, and then she
Yeah,
would go
yeah.
under the table, you know.
Right.
That was a very, very rich experience.
Mm,
Another one that surprised me, and this is also about Asia,
mm.
Taiwan.
Okay.
In the office, you know, everyone will come, they will bow, they give
Mm,
you their business card.
okay.
And so they have to go back and do more business card for me, because when they give you business, you have to give them business card back.
Okay.
And I'm like, wow, people, you know, in this age, people are so submissive, and
Mm,
you
mm,
know,
mm,
and
mm,
for
mm.
me, some of those things, because I'm more about human rights and all
Yeah.
those things, all right. So
Mm, mm, mm.
I wasn't feeling comfortable
Right.
about. But then the Friday evening, the general manager came to me and said, the women
Mm.
want to take you out for dinner.
Oh.
Are you okay with it? And I'm like, what? So I asked him, you are not expecting me to say no, right?
Sign me up. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. But this was what surprised me. The
Right.
very people that I thought were submissive and all that,
Mm,
when they were themselves, they were
mm.
smoking,
Okay.
they
Yeah.
were doing karaoke.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm like, what am I looking
Yeah.
at?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
how you don't have to judge
Mm.
based on first appearance. All right.
Yeah.
I was saying all these things.
Mm, mm,
And they all wanted to go to the US. They would
mm,
like to
mm.
go to US. They would like to marry somebody rich.
Yes. Yes.
And I was shaking my head.
Mm, 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 mm. Yeah. Yeah.
If I didn't have that opportunity, I
Mm.
would have come back to US and say, "Oh, Taiwanese women are
Right.
subservient, and
Right.
someday,
Right.
you know,
The stereotype. Yeah.
yes."
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to give yourself a break, all right?
Mm,
And if
mm.
it flows into what I said, be careful about making judgment based on what you heard.
Yeah.
You also have to follow up with what they are doing in their
Mm.
environment and
Yes.
what it is that they are bringing to market they are
Mm,
making, all
mm,
right?
mm, mm,
And that is what made this world so inconvenient sometimes,
mm, mm,
uncertain sometimes,
mm.
ambiguous sometimes, complex
Right.
sometimes,
Mm, mm,
volatile sometimes,
mm, mm,
because
mm, mm,
we stop thinking,
mm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? We don't peel what is behind the onion. What
Mm-hmm.
get, you know, and it goes back to diagnostics,
Mm-hmm. We just look at the surface. Yeah.
the surface.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When if you just go 2 inch more,
Mm-hmm.
the iceberg is not
Mm.
iceberg, but it's all water.
Right. 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 Okay.
Right.
So I see you schmooze with a lot of big men and women in in DC and other places.
Yes.
What's your formula for networking? How does it work?
I think I will go back to the three things. It has to be authentic. You
Okay.
know, it's about let's take the concept of feeling the felt.
Okay.
For me, when you feel something, it doesn't matter whether it is good, bad, or indifferent,
Okay.
because those things are not going to last.
Mm, mm,
You know, you feel good, and then in the next few minutes, you are back to yourself.
yeah.
It's like enjoying a good meal. At one point, it's going to end.
Right.
But you
Right.
want to feel good, that is going to stay with you for a very long time.
Mm, mm.
And so, even if you feel good, it has to be sincere. It has to
Okay.
be authentic,
Okay.
that you can remember.
Mm, mm.
All right. If you feel bad, it has to be genuine,
Okay.
bad.
Yeah.
If you feel, and that is where the truth comes
Yeah.
from.
Okay. 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 Mm,
All right.
mm,
So you come on to people and you don't give them the impression, the feeling that you want something from them because of
mm.
their status.
Okay. Mm,
So they have to feel your energy.
mm, mm, mm,
All right.
mm.
You have to come across like, this guy is good and he's good in authentic way.
Mm.
This guy is bad and he's bad in authentic way. All right. Or this guy knows nothing and he knows, you can feel that humility, the human, because we are all human.
Right.
Behind the color, again, like I said, you don't just look at the surface and say this person is racist.
Okay.
This person is this, this person is that. All right. So for me, and I think it is God, that whoever your God is, all right,
Yeah.
make your choice. But I also think so many of us, we don't love ourselves. We love the ego of ourselves. We love the material world. We love all those things. People say good things about us because we don't even manage ourselves. We don't know who we are.
Okay.
All right. So love, and I don't want to sound more biblical, but it's integration of your heart, your soul, and your mind. So you can see what most people cannot see.
Okay.
You can notice things. You can see the error in your thinking, the bias in your thinking. And these are all gifts, all right? This is what separates the ordinary from the unique, all right? Yeah. And these things, I don't think there's a book, people will write, but you have to be more practical. You have to get to something, like I said, at the edge. And then something will be revealed to you. I can go back to my 65-50 example, the pattern, the trends, right? So you first have to be self-aware. You have to know yourself. You have to be very conscious and intentional, right? In everywhere that, so, because when I see you, I can, if I have that and you don't, I can know that you are panicking inside.
Okay.
I can know that your emotional response, you are not adding any risk calculation.
Okay.
All right. And so, like Trump will say, what do you have to lose? Right. As long as I'm coming to you with good intention, I'm okay with your no. Right. And so I think sometimes I go back and look at where am I coming from? How am I able to, when I'm with these big people, I don't diminish myself. I've always, even when I came here in college, psychologically, I said to myself, I can go anywhere. I can talk to anybody. I want to be the Bill Clinton of Africa. That type, you know what I mean? You say it and then you start practicing it, all right? And then it becomes a flow. And so I was the same in Ghana too. I think most people didn't see it, all right? But yeah, I was the same, in Ghana, because when you get to know me, I don't need, you are my friend because your father is rich, but I don't depend on it.
Right. Okay, so what advice would you give to people who also want to start their own businesses?
Oh, shit. No, I think a lot of what I've said, people can piece together, but to summarize, you have to have an aspiration.
Okay.
You have to know where the energy is coming from.
Okay.
And that aspiration should help you to look to the real world and understand what is needed. What are some of the external needs? And you have to have, whatever you do in life, you have to have meaning, what it means, what is expected of you, what is your conviction. You have to play with these sort of words. And in the end, there has to be purpose. And you also have to be open to change.
Okay.
That change is going to happen. All right. It's not about you. A lot of leaders fail because they make it about themselves. I've always, thought about Africa where Africa is because they elect people who are liars and they make things about themselves. Because even the great Kwame Nkrumah at some point made things about himself. When you make it about your citizens, they will do everything. You look at Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew.
Yes.
He made it about the country. He made it about the citizens, and everybody followed. Right. And so it's not magic. Authenticity, but you have to have the aspiration, the righteousness, the hunger and the thirst to do the right thing and do it right. Okay, there's going to be failure back and forth. There's going to be challenges, suffering. But if you're aiming at something that is bigger than yourself, you will always find people to go with you. So for me, that is the last word.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. Zoe. You have attended some of the best schools in the world. But these days, sometimes I hear people saying education is not so important. What do you say to that?
Education is important if you are willing to learn, to remember, and to solve problems. Because those three things are never going to go away.
Okay.
Education is as important if you are willing to learn in new settings, to continue problem solving. It's not like, okay, I have this problem, I'm done. You are going to generate ideas till you leave this planet. In fact, we need more education, but better education today than even before. Right? Because do we want to be taken over by artificial intelligence? By robots? We have to ask ourselves, who are making these things? Human beings are making these things. They are using your data to make those things. Facebook, social media. And so when you hear that this person is worth $500 billion, they are using their intelligence, what they've learned about you, to make you look stupid. So the education that we are used to in Africa is not education.
Okay. How would you want it changed? When I have a federal U.S. government contract, for example, the steps they will talk about is communication. What do I mean? If Everett and John are working on a project and we said we will meet next week. If Everett has a new idea that he thinks will help me, you don't have to wait for next week to bring it up. You can bring it up right away to me. Hey, John, I know you're working on this. I think this is going to help you. Why don't you take a look at this? We can talk more about it. It's continual flow of information. Information is the key to life. I think we have to get our people to begin to see themselves as not an island. What do I mean? Because and I don't know everything about Africa, the illness or what is taking place. But I think the idea that it's all about me, because I've been to Ghana, for example, and I've seen the behavior of the so-called rich. These are people that
are now our father's age,
Mm.
but they hold positions.
Yes.
And the way they treat their fellow human beings, even I'm like, how do you do something like this? And the mindset, I was in Ghana, I was trying to help a government entity. I would never mention the name.
Okay.
And I had a local person who went to school with me here.
Okay.
But then he's now bought into the system. So he is all into big cars and the Lexus, the BMWs and all that. But he was working for me.
Okay.
So he used to drive me to meet the CEOs of these agencies. So one day he said, John, why don't you have your driver? I rent a car. I rent it from Avis.
Okay.
Follow us, because after the meeting, I'm going somewhere.
Okay.
And I don't want you to, so you can go back to your home or hotel or whatever. So I had a Ford Probe.
Okay.
That was $70 a day with a driver.
Okay.
So I asked the driver to follow us. So after the meeting, my friend took his big Lexus and he drove away. And then everybody came standing at the corridor looking at me. And then when they saw me going into the Ford Probe, they said, hey, master, what is this for? You don't bring cars like this here. And so I have to defend myself that this is not my car. It is a rented car. It is $70 an hour. And look at how people, then they were like, next time, let us get you a car, Escalade, this. And these are people who were representing government agencies.
So there's a lot of work to do.
There's a lot of work to do about the mindset of our people. I'm thinking about transportation, they're thinking about, so that is a topic we'll take more than this conversation here.
You've been far too generous with your time. Thank you so very much. Yeah,
you are welcome,
really
man.
appreciate
I'm very happy to chat with you. It's been so long. Yeah.
I hope we can do it again sometime. Yeah.
Anytime, my friend.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Bye for now.
Good.